Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's episode, I'm just going to give you a quick market update. Now, just to be clear, whatever I say in this video is not financial advice. I'd advise you to do your own research before you buy any cryptocurrency. Okay, so let's dive into the Bitcoin price. So not much have changed. We're still in this downwards channel. BTC has shown some nice price action over the past week. Could be a potential reversal. This could be this inverse head and shoulders pattern. So you'd have the first shoulder here, the head here, and the second shoulder here. So this is a bullish continuation pattern. Just because it shows a pattern on the chart, it doesn't always play out. So I do recall making a video a few weeks ago also calling this an inverse head and shoulders pattern. So shoulder here, head here, and this was going to be the second shoulder. But obviously you can see that the price just continued to sell off there. So you just have to be cognizant of that. I do like the fact that we are seeing, so this would be a low, and this would be a higher low. Now I really want to see Bitcoin to put in a higher high before I get any bullish. So we'll just drop down to the 4-hour chart. So as you can see here, it's still in this trading range. I would like to see momentum to the upside, and again, break 65K. So then in theory, then it would put in, let's say that here's your low, here's your higher low, and then this would break this high, which would be a higher high. And if it breaks the 65K level, this would be then known as a break of structure. And a lot of traders would be keeping an eye on this. And if it does break 65K, I'd expect that a lot of money would come in and would bring it back up to maybe 70K level. So moving on to Ethereum here. So Ethereum it's a terrible looking chart. So as you can see from Ethereum is trading roughly around the yearly open. And I do suspect that there is probably more downside for Ethereum because we haven't seen the demand from the ETF. Like there was a major hype when the Ethereum ETF was launched, but it didn't exactly catch a bid, and we're still seeing plenty of bleed from Grayscale. Yeah, the risk remains to the downside. I wouldn't be surprised if the price action wicks into this demand zone here. So that would be around at 1600. So we also have Vitalik. So Vitalik is the founder of Ethereum, and he has been constantly selling lots of ETH over the last few weeks. As you see from this tweet right here, Vitalik dumped another 500,000 of Ethereum yesterday. At the same time, he was bull posting. Now he's writing nonsense no one understands to try to justify the sales. He really is a true KOL. So this is the tweet from Vitalik. So basically he says, that sale from yesterday by a bio-defense group I fund was triggered by an automatic house swap order that was set up way back on August 29th. That was the last one. I don't know what to make of this tweet. A lot of people are all talking that he has a new girlfriend, so maybe he is treating his new girlfriend. But all in all, this is not a good sign for Ethereum, especially it has been struggling over the last few weeks. So in other news, breaking, US inflation falls to 2.5%, lower than expectations. Now this is very good to see because the last inflation data came in at 2.9%. So this is obviously very good. It's showing that inflation is trending to the Federal Reserve's target of 2%. In line with that, core CPI actually is still a bit sticky. It's actual 3.2%. It was estimated 3.2%, and then the prior reading was 3.2%. So obviously you can see that the core CPI was quite sticky, and this is the reason why yesterday the markets didn't react quite well to the news of inflation. Moving on here, we also had the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Now I did sit down and watch the debate, and I have to be honest, I believe that Kamala Harris actually did very, very well. I think she did a lot better than I was expecting. It was slightly that it was a three-sided debate. The moderators were very much on her side. We did see the moderators fact check Donald Trump quite a lot. I think it was over 5 times. but they never fact-checked Kamala Harris, which I thought was very unfair. But all in all, Trump did not seem very prepared. He seemed angry. He did a lot of shouting. So obviously this is showing up on the polls. So obviously you can see from Polymarket, now Trump is coming in at 49% and Kamala Harris is coming in at 50%. So it's still neck and neck, and I believe it will continue to be like this right up until the election. Now, obviously, my stance on the presidential elections. I'm more sided towards Trump, just because I think it'll bode well better for cryptocurrency going into the next 4 years. But obviously, Bitcoin is not going to get banned. They have the ETF, and I do believe that Bitcoin will obviously survive no matter what. So moving on here, you can see that the EU cut another 2.5% today. And so overall, you do see all these countries around the world cutting rates. So you have the EU, Canada, UK, China, and Denmark. So the Fed is next. So JP Morgan last month forecasts a 1% cut by November. So will we see a 50 basis point cut next week? Who knows? A lot of people are saying that it probably will be just 0.25%, especially because of the core CPI coming in a bit sticky. Now, I would personally like to see a 50 basis point cut, because I believe that the Federal Reserve is very, very behind, and they do risk of falling into a recession. So that will happen next week on Wednesday. We have the FOMC meeting, which is where we will find out how much the Federal Reserve will cut the interest rate. Now, moving on, there is some headwinds. So we had the Japanese carry trade. So I'll explain to you what that is just a moment, but I'll just go back to the Bitcoin price. This big massive wick down here, it happened on the first week of August, on the 5th of August. And the reason for that was because of the Japanese carry trade. It did send markets plummeting. Now, if we just go back to this, this is basically what the Japanese carry trade is. So the Japanese yen continues to crash. Currency lost 20% against the dollar over the last year. Here's the risk. For the first time since 1990, the yen weakens to 160 against the dollar. What's the problem? The yen carry trade is the problem. Some argue the yen carry trade has been the linchpin for global liquidity. Here's how it works. Japan's national debt to GDP's ratio is over 260%. Paying interest on that is expensive, which is why the governments keep interest rates near zero or even negative for decades. In fact, the central bank policy rate has only been rising once in the last 17 years, now at 0.05%. What's the obvious trade here? Borrow free yen, swap it into dollars, then go out and buy assets abroad. So basically what happened there is investors, because the interest rate is so low on the yen, you can borrow yen because it's very, very cheap to borrow. It's basically their interest rates are zero. So with that yen, then you change it into dollars to buy assets in dollars. So what happened then is basically Japan is having problems with their economy, and they raised rates at the start of August, which obviously triggered a domino effect where investors then had to sell the American assets that they bought to pay back the yen that they borrowed. So a lot of investors are saying that this yen carry trade is not over, and we could see a more of a domino effect, especially if Japan raises its rates more. So this is obviously causing a lot of uncertainty in the markets. So if this unwind continues, then we could easily see ourselves slipping into a massive recession. But all in all, just as we're on the topic of Japan, I just seen this tweet there the day before yesterday. So just in, Japanese company Metaplanet purchases another 300 million of Bitcoin. So Metaplanet is another company that's based in Japan that are taking on the same strategy as MicroStrategy, which is what its company is doing is buying Bitcoin and leaving it on its balance sheet. And obviously this is very good for the company because a lot of investors like this idea and they like Bitcoin, and it's a way of getting exposure to Bitcoin by just buying Metaplanet stock. So you could just imagine what would that do to the Bitcoin's price if more and more companies did that. And I do believe in the future, we will see more companies begin to do that. So more headwinds just for you to be wary about. So this is all just could easily impact the markets. So the biggest story in the world right now is China. Everything else is secondary. The last time China was deflating this hard, it was 3% of global GDP. Now it's 20% of global GDP, undeniably having effects worldwide and cannot be ignored or discounted. So Chinese economy is just not doing well right now. So last year we did see the Evergrande, they went into liquidation and they went bankrupt. So Evergrande was one of the biggest real estate investors in all of China. And ever since they went belly up, their economy is finding it very, very hard to sustain itself. With this information here, you can see that China risks going into deflation. So obviously, if it goes into deflation, this is obviously not good for world markets because we know China is the world's factory. But there is some tailwinds on the horizon. Okay, so this was a tweet from Marty Party. So FTX creditors will receive 14 billion to 16 billion in cash in October through to November and will buy back in. Bullish. So as you may know, FTX went belly up, and this was a big, massive exchange based in the United States. But now all these investors are going to be receiving back their funds. So 14 to 16 billion is quite a lot of money, and they're probably degens, so they probably will put it back into the market. So I believe that we will see some nice price action, maybe towards the end of the year, maybe after the election. There's plenty of uncertainty, and you know the market does not like uncertainty. So also in some other good news, we do have token 2049 in Singapore from the 18th to the 19th of September. And usually at this event, a lot of crypto projects will make plenty of announcements. So this obviously would be good maybe for price action. And it's also in Singapore, which is on the 20th to the 21st. So again, we might see some good announcement from Solana, which I think would be very, very bullish. So overall, that is your market update. I hope you got value out of this one. If you did, please go down, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.